You look at the ice melting in this glass,
Yeah.
just slowly disappearing into the whiskey, right?
Mm.
And you sit there, you swirl the glass, and you watch the ice vanish. And you absolutely cannot stop it.
It's just inevitable.
Exactly. And that is exactly what happens to a company's capital when management just totally backed into a corner.
Right.
You just sit there watching your runway evaporate. I mean, I sat at this exact spot at the bar and watched, I don't know, dozens of hotshot founders come in here to drink away their sorrows after a spectacular crash and burn.
Oh, yeah. Usually on a Friday night.
Always a Friday.
Yeah.
And they always blame the market,
Yeah.
or the algorithm, or the interest rates.
The venture capitalists.
Right. But the reality, I mean, it's almost always a failure of leadership. And honestly, no one understood the crushing, impossible weight of that failure better than a guy who lived like nearly 2,000 years ago.
Okay, I know that. Look, you're talking about the Three Kingdoms period again.
Oh, absolutely I am.
I can always tell when you've been reading up on ancient Chinese history because you start, glaring at your drink like it owes you money.
I mean, it does owe me money, but that's beside the point. But yeah, the Three Kingdoms, for you listening, if you don't know, this is the ultimate cutthroat corporate thriller. Specifically, we're doing a deep dive into the part of the history known as Stage 5.
Which, just for anyone listening who isn't, steeped in 1,000 pages of ancient history.
Right.
Stage 5 is basically the grueling aftermath.
Yeah.
The visionary founders are all dead. The charismatic heroes who started the wars, gone.
All gone.
What's left is just the grinding, miserable reality of actually trying to run the empires they left behind.
It is pure, unadulterated corporate management. And the man left holding the bag is this legendary figure named Zhuge Liang.
Mm-hmm.
He is like the ultimate top-tier professional CEO, brought in to save this failing enterprise called the Shuhan state.
And it is failing hard.
Oh, it's a disaster. Let me tell you, he has been dealt a hand so spectacularly bad. It's almost comical.
Yeah.
He is trying to orchestrate a hostile takeover of a massive Fortune 500 monopoly, right? But he has to do it while leading a team of what the original Chinese texts essentially translate to as pig teammates.
Pig teammates. I mean, it's a very evocative phrase.
It's perfect. It means a team so hopelessly incompetent they might as well be livestock.
Right.
Guys who couldn't organize a two-car parade, So to you listening out there, if you've ever felt like you were the absolute only person doing any actual productive work on your team,
Pull up a stool.
pull up a stool. Seriously. If you've been handed a target by your board that makes you want to just laugh until you cry, grab a glass.
Because we are looking at the absolute limits of leadership today.
Exactly. The terrifying burden of being the only competent person in the room. And what happens when you try to just carry an entire enterprise on your back?
Right. But, I mean, a CEO can't just launch a massive hostile takeover against a market giant if their own house is on fire.
Definitely not.
Before Zhuge Liang can even look north toward his massive competitor, he has this catastrophic internal problem.
The supply chain.
Exactly. His southern supply chain is in open revolt.
Right, the Southern Campaign. So this region is run by a local leader named Meng Hu. And to put this in modern business terms, Meng Hu is basically a rogue subsidiary manager.
Yeah.
He runs the raw materials division, and the guy goes on strike, like every other Tuesday.
He's a nightmare vendor.
Total nightmare. Every time Zhuge Liang tries to focus on the big picture, Meng Hu causes a massive disruption, severing the supply lines. Now, the traditional, brute force executive move here is pretty obvious.
Send in the lawyers.
You send in the corporate lawyers, you terminate the contract, or, well, since this is ancient China, you march an army down there, you execute the guy, and you replace him with a yes man.
Which, I should point out, was the unanimous advice from Zhuge Liang's C-suite.
No, completely.
They were just like, eliminate the liability, cut the cord.
Yeah, but he ignores them. He does something that completely defies logic, both ancient and modern. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
He marches down there, he outmaneuvers Meng Hu, captures him, has him dead to rights, and then just lets him go.
He literally returns his weapons, gives him his horse back, and tells him to try again.
And he doesn't just do this once. He captures and releases this guy 7 times.
7 times.
7. I mean, imagine you have a primary raw material supplier.
Right.
And they keep bouncing checks, stealing your IP, and just openly mocking your legal team.
Right.
Instead of suing them into a crater, you personally drive out to their house 7 times.
You bring them coffee.
Yes. You
Yeah.
bring a coffee, you compliment their landscaping, you roll up your sleeves, and you, fix the plumbing under their kitchen sink.
Wow.
You are just aggressively, impossibly reasonable. Until finally, on the 7th visit, the supplier literally falls to their knees weeping and swears exclusive loyalty to your company for the rest of their natural life.
Which sounds insane.
It sounds completely insane.
Yeah. It sounds insane until you look at the psychological mechanism at play. What's fascinating here is that Zhuge Liang understood organizational behavior on a terrifying level.
Yeah.
He knew that surface-level compliance, the kind you get from brute force, like firing someone or executing them, is utterly useless in a crisis.
Because they'll just wait for you to look away.
Exactly. If you execute Meng Hu, you haven't actually solved the problem. You've just created a deeply resentful Southern workforce.
Right. They're just biding their time.
The moment Zhuge Liang marches his army north to fight a death match with the real enemy, that Southern branch is going to sabotage him.
Oh, absolutely. They'll halt food production.
They'll block the roads, and his entire army will just starve in the mountains. So Zhuge Liang realized he didn't just need a temporary truce. He needed absolute heartfelt buy-in.
Right.
He needed to completely break Meng Hu's ego and rebuild it around a sense of absolute loyalty. You cannot fight a massive competitor if your rear supply chain is wobbly.
Breaking the ego. I mean, that's why I had to do it 7 times, isn't it? Because you capture him once, you're lucky. Capture him twice, okay, you're clever.
Right.
But capture him 7 times, and you systematically prove to this man that you are practically a god compared to him.
Yeah.
You prove you have the absolute power to destroy him, but you are actively choosing mercy. It breaks the guy's brain.
And it requires an unbelievable suppression of the CEO's own ego.
Oh, I would have fired off a furious 2 a.m. email after the second betrayal. Easily.
Most leaders would, and it would ruin the entire strategy. But Zhuge Liang swallowed his pride, paid a massive upfront cost in time and resources, and he purchased permanent stability.
Which he desperately needs. Because with the supply chain finally locked down, he turns around to face the most nightmarish KPI of his entire life.
The Northern Expeditions?
The Northern Expeditions.
Yeah.
This is the aggressive expansion against the market giant Cao. And the math here, I mean, it's just sickening.
Is really bad.
Cao has 5 tons the market share. 5 times. They have bottomless venture capital, all the arable land, and they've scooped up all the top-tier Ivy League talent.
Meanwhile, Zhuge Liang's company Shu is suffering from a lethal brain drain.
Yeah.
The visionary founders are dead. The senior executives are dead. His workforce is filled with what we'd call today salary thieves.
Salary thieves.
People who are just punching the clock, collecting a check, and waiting for the company to inevitably fold.
So knowing all of this, right, knowing the talent gap, knowing the resource gap, Zhuge Liang decides to attack anyway.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting. He initiates a series of massive military campaigns. He takes his scrappy, desperate $1 million startup and tries to forcefully acquire a $100 million corporate titan. And the titan's strategy, led by their own brilliant executive named Sima Yi, it's just to lock the front doors.
Yeah, they just refuse to fight.
They just stay inside their air-conditioned fortresses and let the startup burn through its cash runway.
It is the ultimate defensive strategy. The giant knows a startup is hemorrhaging resources with every single attack. So why risk a battle? Just sit on your hands, wait for them to go bankrupt.
See, I have to stop right there. Because from this side of the bar, as someone who watches businesses fail literally every day, this makes me want to pull my hair out. I mean, why on earth would a calculated genius like Zhuge Liang attack when the spreadsheet is literally soaked in red ink?
It seems counterintuitive.
Totally.
Yeah.
If the enemy's strategy is to watch you bankrupt yourself, why take the bait? Why not just, stay home, fortify your borders, hoard your cash, and just survive?
Because staying home was a mathematical death sentence.
Really?
Yeah. We have to look at the brutal economic reality of ancient warfare. The cash runway here isn't dollars, it's grain and population. Cao controlled the Central Plains. They had vastly more agricultural land and millions more people.
So they own the infrastructure.
They owned everything. If both sides just sat peacefully behind their walls for 10 years, Cao would grow 10 times faster purely by default.
Right, because of compound interest, basically.
Exactly. They would breed more horses, draft more soldiers, harvest more grain. Waiting just meant watching the giant get bigger until they could crush Shu without even breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
So Zhuge Liang's attacks weren't born of arrogance. They were born of terrifying clarity. If a small company doesn't aggressively expand, it will be slowly bled to death by the larger conglomerate.
Grow or die. I mean, it's the most brutal rule of business.
It was a desperate, forced burn rate. He had to keep the giant off balance.
Right. He had to force Cao Wei to spend exorbitant amounts of money and grain defending themselves just to slow their compounding growth.
Exactly. It was a David versus Goliath play just to stay relevant in the market.
Okay, I see it.
Right.
I see the logic. But because he is forcing this hyper-aggressive growth, he has to make incredibly risky bets. He's spread way too thin. He has to trust these middle managers with critical market expansions. And eventually, that massive talent gap he's dealing with catches up to him.
He makes a bad hire.
He makes a bad hire.
A catastrophic hire, actually. A man named Masu.
Masu, the classic MBA who talks a great game in the boardroom.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
His resume looks fantastic, he uses all the right buzzwords, but you put him in the field to actually manage a project, and he completely botches it.
Yeah.
Zhuge Liang trusts him to hold a vital strategic stronghold, and Masu just loses it entirely. And we have to remember the stakes here.
It's not a missed Q3 target.
No. Losing the stronghold means thousands of soldiers are slaughtered, the defensive lines evaporate, and the CEO is suddenly left completely exposed.
It creates a nightmare scenario. Sima Yi, the ruthless executive of the giant conglomerate, marches a massive army right to the gates of the city where Zhuge Liang is stationed.
And Zhuge Liang has nothing.
Yeah.
The troops are deployed elsewhere. The walls are undefended.
Yeah.
He's sitting in a city with literally a handful of civil servants and some guys sweeping the floors.
Not great.
And outside, a literal army of seasoned killers ready to liquidate his entire operation. So what does the great CEO do? Does he panic? Does he try to negotiate a surrender? No. He opens the city gates wide, he sits on top of the wall, he lights some incense, and he casually plays a lute.
A traditional stringed instrument, just strumming, relaxing background music.
He's throwing a coffeehouse acoustic set while an invading army stares at him.
It's incredible.
And Sima Yi, commanding this massive, overwhelming force, looks up at this guy playing the lute, gets incredibly paranoid, assumes there are heavily armed troops hiding in every alleyway, waiting for an ambush, and orders his entire army to retreat.
Yep.
It is known as the empty city stratagem.
The audacity of it is just staggering.
To put this in modern terms for you listening, imagine you have exactly $5 left in your corporate bank account.
Just $5.
You are completely undeniably broke. But you walk into a hostile takeover meeting wearing a bespoke $10,000 suit.
Right.
You casually drop the keys to a rented supercar on the boardroom table, and you bluff a billionaire competitor so intensely that they actually walk away from the deal, fully convinced you are backed by a shadowy, limitless cartel.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is the absolute peak of the art of bluffing.
Oh, without a doubt.
But what's crucial to understand is why it worked. You cannot pull off the empty city stratagem against just anyone.
Right.
Zhuge Liang survived entirely by weaponizing his rival's specific psychological flaw.
Which was Sima Yi's extreme paranoia.
Exactly. Sima Yi was a brilliant strategist, but his fatal flaw was this tendency to overanalyze everything.
He just couldn't take a win.
Never. And Zhuge Liang knew that Sima Yi knew he was an intensely cautious man. So by acting completely recklessly, by throwing the gates open and playing a lute, Zhuge Liang purposefully short-circuited his rival's brain.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Sima Yi's logic loop kicked in. He thought, Zhuge Liang never takes uncalculated risks. Therefore, this wide-open city cannot be a risk. It must be an elaborate, deadly trap.
Wow.
So Zhuge Liang didn't beat Sima Yi's army. He used Sima Yi's own massive intellect against him.
Weaponized overthinking. I absolutely love it. It makes for an incredible story. It really does.
It does.
But, you know, here is the depressing reality I've seen time and time again from watching founders at this bar.
What's that?
A brilliant, miraculous bluff can save you for a quarter, you know? It can make for a legendary story at the company retreat, but it cannot fix a fundamentally broken business model.
Right.
And it certainly cannot fix a toxic work culture. Which brings us to the final grueling act of this tragedy, the Wuzhang Plains.
Where a war of brilliance basically turns into a war of pure physical attrition.
Exactly. It devolves into this brutal, grinding standoff between two vastly different executive styles.
Yeah.
Zhuge Liang is desperate. He is the aggressive client who needs a resolution now. He is spamming Sima Yi's inbox. He is calling his cell phone at 2 a.m. The texts even say he sends Sima Yi a box of women's clothing.
Yes, which was...
Which in the context of ancient warfare was the ultimate screaming insult, right?
Absolutely.
He is publicly mocking him, trying to humiliate Sima Yi's masculinity just to provoke a fight.
And Sima Yi's response to this massive provocation.
Sima Yi plays the ultimate ghosting vendor.
Yeah?
He puts his phone on airplane mode. He deletes the emails without reading them. He essentially plays dead.
He even puts on the women's clothing, smiles, and thanks the messenger.
Exactly. He completely refuses to give Zhuge Liang the one thing he desperately needs, which is a decisive, fast battle.
Right.
And because he can't force the engagement, Zhuge Liang's leadership style just violently implodes into absolute suffocating micromanagement.
The historical records are incredibly specific about this, too. They note that Zhuge Liang personally oversaw any punishment of 20 strokes or more.
Okay, let's translate that from modern business.
Okay.
That is the equivalent of a Fortune 500 CEO staying awake until 3 in the morning to personally review and approve any employee expense report over $20.
$20.
$20.
Yeah.
He's doing the work of the HR intern, the accounting clerk, the middle manager, and the commanding general.
All at once.
All while trying to defeat a multi-billion-dollar rival.
This raises an important question, though, and we have to connect it back to Ma Su.
The bad hire.
A bad hire we discussed earlier, yeah.
Okay.
Zhuge Liang wasn't always like this, but the catastrophe with Ma Su deeply traumatized him.
That makes sense.
He gave a subordinate a chance, the subordinate failed, and it nearly cost him the entire empire.
Right.
So the psychological takeaway for Zhuge Liang was, I can never, ever trust anyone else to do the work again.
Oh, man. But human biology does not care about your trauma.
No, it doesn't.
And it does not care about your work ethic. You cannot outbluff the need for sleep.
Right.
We see this play out in the modern tech industry all the time, right? Zhuge Liang is trapped in a toxic 007 work culture.
Meaning 0 hours of rest.
Yeah, working from 00 midnight to 00 midnight, 7 days a week.
Wow.
It's basically a parody of the brutal tech hours you see today. He is entirely fueled by anxiety, caffeine, and a misplaced sense of duty. Utterly convinced that if he stops micromanaging for 1 single second, the whole company will vaporize.
While his rival is playing a completely different game.
Right. Sima Yi is playing the wellness guru. Sima Yi's entire corporate strategy is literally just, I am going to eat well, get 8 hours of sleep, do some light stretching in my fortress, and live healthily until my competitor literally works himself into a cardiac arrest.
It works.
It works perfectly.
Yeah.
Zhuge Liang eventually collapses. He dies of sheer physical exhaustion at the Wuzhang Plains.
Yeah.
The historical text leaves us with this heartbreaking image of him in his final moments, looking up at the stars, realizing he just can't carry his team anymore.
Yeah.
He worked himself to death.
Which leaves us with the tragedy of the professional manager. Zhuge Liang's micromanagement was his ultimate downfall.
It really was.
Yes, he was a genius. Yes, he was dealt a terrible hand with a subpar workforce. But by trying to do absolutely everything himself,
Right.
by refusing to delegate, by refusing to accept the small failures that naturally come with cultivating a team, he doomed his own health. And by doing that, he doomed the company's future. He created a single point of failure for the entire empire. Himself.
So what does this all mean? Look, he was a romantic figure. He really was. He used his own literal life force to prop up a failing company for an extra decade. He gave them 10 years of survival they had absolutely no business having. But the moment his heart stopped, the moment he collapsed looking at those stars, the company's firewall shattered.
There was no internal leadership pipeline.
Zero. Because Zhuge Liang had done all the leading. And Sima Yi, the ghosting rival who had just been sitting back taking his vitamins, he calmly walked out of his fortress, swept away the remnants, and effectively took over the entire market. Game over.
The giant wins not by outsmarting the visionary, but simply by outlasting him.
Exactly. So I want you listening to think about your own situation for a second. Look at your leadership style at work, or even how you manage your household. Are you actually empowering the people around you to step up? Are you letting them fail so they can learn? Or are you the one staring at a screen with bloodshot eyes, approving a $20 expense report because you fundamentally don't trust anyone else to do it right?
That's a hard question.
Because I promise you, that pass only ends at the Wuzhang Plains. You might hold the walls up for a few more years, but eventually your battery will hit zero.
Yeah.
And the Sima years of the world are just waiting for you to drop.
We have this deeply ingrained tendency in business culture to idolize the hero CEO, you know?
Oh, yeah.
The person who sleeps under their desk, never takes a vacation, carries the entire weight of the company on their back.
Everyone praises them.
We write glowing articles about them, we study their morning routines, but looking at Zhuge Liang's fate, maybe we have it all backwards.
How so?
Well, is the existence of a hero CEO actually a sign of greatness? Or is it just the ultimate glaring symptom of a fundamentally broken company?
Wow.
Something for you to ponder before you step into your next status meeting.
I think I'll ponder it right now, actually. But you're right, you can't outmanage a melting ice cube forever.